Beep, 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 beep. How are we, good peeps? Welcome to the court of the Edijester, and how are we? I have my coffee ready for the day. It's silly o'clock in the morning. What do you think to the shirt? I look like an accident in a paint factory. Oh, gosh, that's glorious. So, where are we going today? To the once beloved BBC. Now, no more, for obvious reasons. They're all mad. As this wonderful, wonderful article from the Telegraph goes to show. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we've got. Justin Webb and the trans row causing a meltdown at the BBC in the Tory Graph on the 19th of March. It is not, on the face of it, a particularly controversial statement. Justin Webb, the long-time presenter of the BBC Radio 4's Today programme, was discussing new rules banning transgender competitors. Well, that's not banning. It's not true, is it? Never. They're not banned. They can go in the men's or whatever they want to. Right? They can't go in the men's, or if it's open, just can't go in the women's. That'll be what this is about, isn't it? I think, anyway. Today's programme discussing new rules, transgender bannings, blah, 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 from taking part in women's international chess tournaments, and said trans women, in other words, males. That's what he said. Trans women, in other words, males, which is a fact. You know that funny thing that we used to remember years ago that we used? They were called facts. Now, if anything comes out that an individual nut job disagrees with, like, you know, the student union or any of it, that's a fact. They don't hear and understand what's being said. They just get resonating in their head. This may be a fact. In which case they then react like a petulant child. This is not true! No! All the violence! Right? So that's what we've had happen here. Okay? Because he said trans women, in other words, males. Right? By attempting to clarify one aspect of a knotty subject. It's not a knotty subject, it's just a fact. Last August, Webb inadvertently opened a can of worms that has sparked an absolute meltdown, in the words of a senior insider in the BBC newsroom. We love to hear it! Go on! Have your meltdown! Go on! Do you think that while they were melting down they were waxing lyrical? Stop it. They were either waxing lyrical or they had an icy demeanour. Oh, right. The incident also calls into question how the BBC, which is currently desperate to burnish its credentials for impartiality and balance, deals with complaints about its editorial output. Calling a man has got nothing to do with impartiality. What the hell are they talking about? A zealous listener, a nutter, picked up Webb's words and lodged a complaint, accusing Webb, 63, of compromising the corporation's strict impartiality rules. Impartiality does not override facts. Where do they get the idea that it might? In this weird, I mean, it's just weirdness on a scale undreamt of by man or woman or those as yet undecided. Twerps, right? Okay. So, the BBC complaint procedure whirled into action. Word, W-H-I-R-R-E-D, not world, word, into action, and a couple of weeks ago delivered its verdict. Webb, it decided, was guilty as charged. States fact, right? Facts checkers kick in. No, guilty. You lied. You didn't lie, you were impartial. It's impartial to call a man a man. No wonder they're going to be defunct. Right? No wonder people are stopping paying them left, right and centre. They're just mad. You know what? This is how this works, right? This is why this has happened. I'm just writing year 3 of the Warrior Teacher Programme, and I'm looking at organisations and structures and how they become captured. Right? So the BBC, right? The BBC, what they've got is stupid people recruiting. So when stupid people recruit and they don't have the correct meritocratic frameworks to do it, what happens is you clone. So therefore, they got in one nutter who happened to be, they like the nutter's ideas. Well, I'm mostly on the left and slightly liberal, and I would say that I'm a hashtag be kind person, but support fully communist regimes like that of Stalin. Right? So they got this person in, right? And then they went, you're in charge of recruitment. Here's a clipboard. Now go and recruit. Are you in support of the works of Stalin and Mao and Pol Pot? Oh yes, I am, absolutely. Great, you're hired. What experience do you have? I once swept the road in my neighbourhood. Oh great, yeah. Head of BBC Sound. tossers. There was a programme years ago called W1A. Actually, I don't think it was that many years ago, but called W1A. That's this. They've even got an episode about a bloke that likes to fetishize and dress up looking kinky. He was a footballer, I think, in the episode, called W1A. That's the BBC to a T. BBC sources say that the ruling has gone down. This is great because it's the Telegraph. BBC sources say that the ruling has gone down like a cup of cold sick. As if somebody would be more appropriate with a cup of hot sick. A cup of cold sick, especially among prominent female presenters. Which ones? Come on, speak. It might be that pencil from Caution Time. What's her name? Fiona Bruce, is it? Fiona Bruce, right? Senior BBC women have written to Tim Davie, probably one word beginning with C and ending in T, right? To the Director General in their droves to express dismay at the way Webb has been treated. They claim that Webb only stated a fact, although gender identity is largely a social construct. What do you mean largely a social construct? It's wholly a social construct. Biological sex is immutable and cannot be changed. True. One wrote, clear statement of fact is not one viewpoint, and the fact that it is a highly controversial area makes it more important to be factual, not less. If the BBC is to censor journalists for being factual, we are slipping into very dangerous waters. What do you mean slipping? Slipping into very dangerous waters? No, you are. You're doing a Harry Potter in that Goblet of Fire thing, and you haven't slipped. You've grown gills, and you're paddling around with the mad trans mermaids. Once we've decided to dispense with public trust, we have nothing left. What do you mean decided? You've dispensed with public trust ages ago. You've lost the plot. You are completely stupid when it comes to this. The BBC has long struggled with how to cover transgender stories. Don't! There are absolutely no interest to anybody except for the LARPing, narcissistic individual at the centre of it. So stop doing it altogether. There's a good girl. Is it girl or boy, the BBC? It's Auntie, isn't it? Auntie Beeb. It's a girl. Right, so there you go. Stop. Okay, just stop. The ruling on Webb came in the same week that the BBC was criticised for the way it reported on the conviction of Scarlett Blake, a trans woman who murdered a man in Oxford and live-streamed killing a cat with a blender. God. Broadcast items about the case referred to Blake only as a woman, with no mention of the killer being transgender. So if you make the point that a man is a man, which is what this is, obviously a man, then you are in fact guilty of impartiality at the BBC here. He's guilty as charged of impartiality. How do you know? I'm being impartial. Then, you're guilty of impartiality. But if you tell the story of a murderer who's a man, but cross-dresses, and don't call them a transgender, then you're not, then you're okay. Or do call them transgender, then you're okay. It's the most odd story. And the BBC is obviously the most odd place. They're completely captured. I remember years ago, when I wrote my book, dreadful book, right? I was high on morphine. I wrote my book. It's just insane. And in it is a bit about the BBC where they were recruiting, and they only opened an advert up to people who were BIPOC and BAME and had at least 5 years experience for an internship in the sound department. And then right down at the bottom of the advert it said, your existing salary will be matched. So they could get around the law. That's what they did. I've got it somewhere. I've got it. All the receipts. They're nuts. Go on, at BBC. Let them know. They're all bloody bonkers. And I'll see you later.